What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another live coding session with rabbitwerks JavaScript. My name is Sean. We don't have a camera today because it is stuck out in the garage. No big deal, but we're gonna have some fun coding anyways. So, last week we were doing a React refresher course kind of thing, just going through some refreshments on React, and this week we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna kind of go a little bit further and start working with like props and stuff like that. So basically, let me pull up what we had left off with last week, and we can go from there. So basically, this is just like a couple of different flex items and stuff. We're using my rabbitwerks Flexbox utility library in this instance. You can check out the link to that in the description if you want to check that out. Basically, a class-based Flexbox library for HTML. So yeah, excuse me. So what we're gonna do now is make this a little bit more dynamic. We're gonna be able to, because look at right here, we're actually like rendering out all of these elements as one thing, but we can actually do that a little bit more efficiently based on, I guess, the equivalent of views v4, like mapping through an array or mapping through an array, or mapping, not mapping, but object.entries-ing an object of data or something. So we're gonna fix or go a little bit further with this. So let's jump into it. All right, cool. Thanks for tuning into the stream. You can do like the stream. Sorry, I'm a little bit rusty. I've had a long weekend and a long week. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to get more rabbitwerks, all that good stuff. And let's get into it. Okay, so what I want to do first of all is, right now I want to be able to increase these, and right now we don't have Redux or any type of like state management running, so everything is kind of like prop drilling at this point. So we got to keep that in mind, and what I want to do is change these out. Okay, so we take a look at our app, what we have so far. I want to be able to individually change the flex sizes of these, the flex amounts of these items. So, and the way I want to go about doing that is having buttons underneath them, so a decrease and an increase kind of button underneath each item. So yeah, let's do that. Alright, so in order to do that, this flex item is going to have to be a child component of kind of like a group component. So what I'm going to do is in components, I'll create a new folder, and I'm going to call it flex item group. And then in that folder, I'm going to create a new file called index.js, go figure. Bring in React, or React from React. Cool. All right, so this is going to be a class, not a functional component, because we're going to have some internal state for this actual component. I also want to import the flex item itself. Cool. All right, and then let's build our class. Okay, so class flex item group, no spaces. Flex item group extends react dot component. And then we need a constructor because it's a class. We don't have any props So we don't have to worry about that at the moment. Let's just make sure that we call super for whatever reason. Okay, cool. So we have the constructor. All right, so let's give ourselves a little bit of state here. So inside of here, we can set some state. So state equals. Oh wait. Yeah, state equals. We have to do this dot state. We'll have to see. All right, this dot state or state equals flex item array. That's going to be an array. We'll just do some simple numbers for now. Cool. I guess we could just do a number. Flex item amount. Yeah, let's go about that. Flex item amount, and then we'll just set it to 3. Oh wait. Yeah, no. So I'm going to stick with an array for now because I want to be able to like loop through it. Excuse me. Okay, so might actually have to be in this dot state. I don't remember. Don't blame me. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to render out some JSX containing our flex item. And let's see. Okay, so what we want to do is we need to use the render method or render function that you use inside of these class-based components versus like a functionless or a functional stateless component where you just return some JSX. You actually have to like call the render function in a class to return some JSX. And it's kind of cool because inside of the render function itself, you can actually do a little bit of like evaluation or like data massaging. You can execute some code inside of that actual function before it returns the JSX, which is really cool. Okay, so let's do that. So we need to do render, and that is going to be a function, and it's going to return not an object. This isn't view. Return some JSX. Okay. So what I want to do actually before we do this though is in order to get this to map, we have to, or in order to get this to display dynamically, we have to map the array to the components or whatever. So we do that. I'm going to do that inside the render function, so it's already done. I don't know if you can do it outside of the render function. I'm sure you can, but this is the way that I was learning it, so I'm going to go about it this way. So inside of the render function, before we return any JSX, we want to map through our flex item array and render out dynamically the number of flex items that we want to have. So let's go about doing that. So what we can do is say const flex items equals flex item array dot map. Hold on one second. Okay, flex item array dot map. And what we want to map is the item. And then we can just do this inline. We don't need to open up an entire code block for it. But we can just, so inside the map function, we can just return our JSX. So we'll just return a flex item. Wait a second. This isn't what. I don't need to actually. I'm sorry. This is going to be for the parent element. Okay. Apologies. We'll be back to this. So this is going to go in the flex container component. All right, let's start over. So, jeez. Hold on. Before I do that, let me just check my notes, because my memory isn't the best. Okay, so git checkout. Cool. Look at this. Okay, yeah, so the flex, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that is accurate. Okay. So this is the code. cheat sheet, so to speak. So it's just the flex amount that we're holding in here. Yeah. I'm sorry, I was getting confused on what I was actually doing. Okay, let's go back to our other branch and sort this whole mess out. Okay, so yeah, we don't need the flex item array here. That is not what we're doing. I apologize. I'm a little bit confused on where I was at, because I've been working on this kind of all day. So, all right, the flex amount is going to be set as a default to 1. That's going to be the lowest value, obviously, that we can do. And what we need to do is create another component as well, and it's going to be the flex the flex amount controller. So we're just going to have a component that holds like 2 buttons. Each button will do their own thing. They'll either thanks for tuning in, Joshua. Appreciate it. Love you, bud. Have a good night. So this component is just going to hold 2 elements. Like I said, it's going to be 2 buttons. One's going to be for incrementing the flex amount. The other one is going to be for decrementing the flex amount. And we don't have that in here just yet, but we can actually let's actually build that. So what we'll do is bring flex item inside of flex item group, because it's part of the flex item group, and I want to always automatically update imports, so that way if we move something around, VS Code is going to change it, so we have it, or the proper imports everywhere, so it updates the imports or whatever. Alright, so we got flex item in there. Let's create a new folder. We're gonna do flex controller. Cool. And then inside of there, obviously, we're gonna create our index.js. That. All right, cool. So this is going to be a stateless functional component. We're going to pass props into it. So let's create that, so we can actually just do the shorthand export. Not really a shorthand, but it's more so like instead of just creating the function and then exporting at the bottom, we're just exporting it right away. I don't know if that makes a difference in performance or whatnot, but I don't know, we'll mix it up. Okay, so export default function is going to be called controller, and this is going to get props passed into it, and those props are going to be well, two functions that we can pass into it. So for now, we'll just have the props, and then when we get, we'll have the props object just passed in as an argument, and then when we get to the point where we have those functions written to be passed into this component, we will we'll just destructure it just to make our code a little bit more clean to read. Okay, cool. So all right, so what we need to do is we need to return some JSX, and it's going to be a div, and inside of there, well, actually we need to give it a class name because we're gonna apply Flexbox stuff to it. So class name equals, all right, fxbx. That should be all that we need because it's gonna already be a row. All right, cool. So inside of there, we're gonna add some buttons. Button, if I can type. Increase. And then we need a decrease. Decrease. Decreases to cease. Alright, cool. So we have that, and that should be good for the moment. Let's head back to our flex item group and bring that component into this file. So import flex controller from cool. All right, now that we have that, we can use it in our code here. So what we want to do is, if we look back at our web page, this is going to be loaded at the bottom. Our buttons are going to be loaded at the bottom of each flex item. So we want to make sure that this wrapper that we're creating essentially is going to have the capability to display them properly without like being like, here's the item, and then inside of this little space they're going to shove buttons. So we have to use Flexbox. Well, we don't have to use Flexbox, but we're going to use Flexbox to do it because it's the easiest way to get about it. And this project is all about Flexbox because Flexbox rules. Okay, so what that's going to look like is, now that we have our flex item and our flex controller imported into our flex item group, we can piece those together as Lego pieces to build our entire flex item group. So let's do that now. So first thing we need to do is we're going to have to call a div, or create a div, because we need to wrap our elements inside of some sort of wrapper, because JSX doesn't like multi-level or multiple components or elements in the root level. All right, cool. So we have that, and let's give this div a class name, and it will be set to fxbx for flexbox. And then we also want to set the flex direction to column. We'll say fd-c for flex direction column. And then these are all classes that are built into my Flexbox utility library. You can check that out on GitHub. The link is in the description, but basically, yeah, we have full hand and then shorthand classes that basically utilize Flexbox, and you can kind of piece them together and stuff. So really cool on that. All right, cool. So we have this div set to flex direction column. What we want to do now is import or bring in our flex item in our flex controller. So flex item And then we want to do our flex controller as well. Cool. All right, let's replace, let's update our flex, not flex controller, but the container file to display our new group of components. Inside of here, there we go. Okay. So instead of flex item, what we're gonna do is import flex item group from flex item group. Right. All right. So you can see that everything is broken now. That's fine, because we need to update this stuff. So what I'll do actually here is, let's just, for now, we'll just add in group to everything. So add some multiple cursors, just like that. Oh, I gotta export this. Export default flex item group, not controller. And this should be this state. Cool. All right, so this is the result that we have so far. We need to obviously make a little bit of adjustments to things. The buttons don't have any functionality to it yet, but we are getting there. Okay, so we need to provide this state both, or actually we just need to provide this state to this flex item, and we need to modify this state with this flex controller. So there's two functions that we need to write inside of this class in order to basically adjust the flex amount, and then we also need to pass that value into our flex item component as a prop. So oops, that. So let's go about doing that first. Let's pass the state in to our flex item component just so we have that out of the way and we don't have to worry about it. All right, so we'll do flex amount, not this. This dot state dot flex amount. Cool. So now if we look inside of this component, for instance, we pull up the React dev tools, we can take a look and see that this flex item does in fact have that, I don't know, does in fact have the flex amount prop inside of each of them. So each prop has that. So we want to be able to individually change that. Cool. So let's do that. And to go about that, we need to write a couple of functions on top of. So these are going to be methods on top of this class that we built. All right. So first thing we want to do is do an add, and then we'll do subtract or remove or increase and decrease. So we'll do function increase amount, and that's going to be a function, right? Okay, so that function is going to say if, because we want to make sure that we state is equal to 5. We only want, or actually, we need to set it to 20. There's 20 classes that we can do. Cool. And then when we get back to the flex item, we'll break down how we're going to actually apply these classes to it. Or not so much like the class. Yeah, the class. I'm sorry. Okay, so if flex amount is already 20, then we're just going to return. else we will just say this dot state dot flex amount plus equals. Cool. All right, so that should be our increase amount function, and then what we also want to do is have the opposite of that, the decrease amount, and that is essentially going to be the same thing but in reverse. So if this dot state dot flex amount equals 1, we want 1 to be our minimum. We don't want to go any further lower than that into the negatives or the 0 range. Then we want to return. We don't want the function to continue. Else, if that's not the case, then we'll say this dot state dot flex amount minus equals 1. Cool, just like that. All right, cool. So we have these two functions written. They are methods on top of our flex item group class, and we can actually pass those in as entire props. We'll do that next. So what we want to do is this flex controller, we want to be able to provide this functionality to our buttons inside of our flex controller. So we need to pass those in as props. Yeah. Okay, cool. He disappeared. Oh my god. Okay. Gotta love winter. Okay, so let's get these props or these functions passed into our flex controller as a prop. What I'm going to do is actually open this up just a tad bit, scaffold it out ever so slightly, and what we will do is pass in some props. Okay, so the way that we pass in functions as a prop is we gotta define a prop, open up some curly braces, obviously, and then we're gonna call an anonymous arrow function, like that, and that's going to run, so our, for instance, increase amount right now, just like that, and cool. Otherwise, you would have to call the function and then bind it to this or whatever to make sure that it registers that it's calling inside of this class or whatever, versus like searching for the global scope. So let's duplicate that. Duplicate this line, maybe. There we go. Change this to decrease. Cool. Now, if we take a look at our component, Chrome, or the front end aspect of it, components. Oh. Alright, so our flex item controller, you can see right now it has 2 props assigned to a decrease and increase amount. So that's good. We have our functions in there. So, what are we going to do at this point? We need to actually call these functions. We actually have to pass the I can't remember. Flex controller and flex container, very, very similar. Okay, so we're back in our flex controller, and this is our component that sits underneath our flex items that controls the actual amount of flex that it is displaying at. So we have two props that we just wrote, two functions to increase and decrease that. What we're going to do is actually bring those in now. So instead of just calling in props in as an argument, what I'm going to do is destructure it just because it's a little bit cleaner to read. So we'll destructure increase amount, and then we'll also destructure in decrease amount. Cool. Now we can call upon those inside of our components. So inside of this button right here, we're going to add a click listener. So not at, it's not view, on click equals brackets increase, use imperative handle. Yeah, it's exactly what I want. Increase amount. Okay, cool. Have that, and then we will do the same thing on this decrease button. So on click, going to be equal to decrease amount. Done. Cool. So let's see if this works. So let's pull up our app, give it a refresh. Oh yeah, we gotta use state. Jeez, I'm so. This isn't Vue, it's React. Everything is immutable. Okay, so instead of doing that, we gotta say this dot set state, and then we're gonna pass in an object. And with React, the way that like their data and their like state works is like pass in a new object to replace the old object, essentially. So if we were to have two properties on here, like say we had like flex dir, like that. Okay, just for an example, if we had like two properties inside of our state and we only passed in flex amount, this state flex amount plus 1. I mean, that's the code that we're gonna write anyways. But if we didn't include this flex dir on top of it, so like if we didn't push this, so right now it would completely be it would change synonymously with itself. But if we weren't to include this flex dir inside of our set state, then this property would essentially be erased. So we have to always make sure that we're working with that or keeping that in mind when it comes to stuff like this, because it can really screw stuff up. And that's why using like a one source of truth, kind of like state tree, Redux or Vuex or another state management system, is really helpful, because it will prevent stuff like that from happening. Basically, you have to duplicate the state object in order for all those properties to stay there. It's not going to just add one property or change one property. Like if you push one property to set state, all of your props are going to be deleted, and it's just going to have that one thing in there. So it's kind of confusing, kind of a pain in the ass, but I get why they do it. But thanks for tuning in to the stream. You can like, comment, and subscribe. Say what up in the chat. Thank you so much for checking rabbitwerks out. Okay. Do the same thing for this one down here. We can actually just wrap this in. Kind of doing it backwardsly. That's okay though. Okay. Let's see what our app has to say on these. Very nice. Fresh. Oh. It's using. Oops. I'm gonna give it a restart. Do not use mutate state directly. Use set state. Weird. That is what I have here, and it's like no, it's not right. Why? Why do you tell me this? What the frick? Okay, so this is obviously backed up because it's still calling use imperative handle is defined but never used. Oh wait a second, is that? Oh, did it import that? Okay. Where are we at? What? I'm pretty sure I'm doing that. Damn it. React is so fun. It's so fun. So fun. Alright, jackass. You wanna play that game? Alright. We'll do it. I'm in the wrong. Alright, cool. Let me create a new quick to get check out dash b VR3 flex. Cool. Git add all git commit dash m refactoring to flex item group. Cool. Now we can change stuff. So we'll do git checkout dash brf. Oh, not readme. Jesus. B3 photo. Cool. Okay, so we have to pass that in there. Oh, I see. We can't do an evaluation in there. Duh. Christ. Alright. Oops. Wrong button. Wrong button. Okay. Alright, so we can't do the evaluation inside the object. I don't know what I'm thinking. Instead of delete. So what we can do is say const new amount equals mount. This is going to get property passed into both of them. Okay, makes sense now. Mount plus equals 1. Then we will set flex amount to new mount. Oh, cool. Let's do the same thing for down here. Oh, it's a big const new amount equals amount minus equals type. And we'll pass new amount in. Cool. Alright, so the last thing we want to do is we got to pass the actual amount into this prop. So this dot state dot flex amount. Copy that. Pass it in there. Wonderful. We have flex amount there. We actually don't need to pass that in because we're going to be doing the flex amount here. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to also do on top of this is we're going to have to set the flex item, because this is going to be the essentially our flex item. The flex item inside of there is just kind of like an element, a container element. It doesn't actually have the flex properties to it. It could just probably be called item. We're going to actually control the entire size of this element, flex group, with our flexbox stuff. So what we need to do is we need to take the value from this property in our state and combine it with some string templates to give us what we want. Okay, so instead of doing quotes here, we're going to do open up a set of curly braces, and then inside of there we'll put in some string or a string template, so backticks. And then what we'll do is we'll say F and $, and then inside of that we'll do this dot state dot flex amount, and then after that we will have our HTML classes. So fx xvx and fd-c. Right, so okay. So the order of operations of the hierarchy is going to be, we're gonna first we want to set the actual flex amount of the object or the element, and then we're going to apply flexbox and then the flex direction to that element after we set the size of it. So this is all based on like how flexbox and CSS works and stuff like that, like first come first serve kind of thing. You can read up more about how that works in the documentation that I have written for my library if you want to check that out. Okay, cool. So let's see what we have so far. Yeah. Oh, I'm so exhausted. Unterminated template. All right, cool. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so the last thing I want to do on this really quick before we go any further is actually just give us a little bit of styling so our flex items have some height to it. So I'm going to say const styles up here on the top. Come on. Jeez. Okay, so remember this is CSS in JS, so we have to go about it like that. Always fun times. That crap. Alright, so we have the class name in here. Let's give it its inline styling as well. So style equals styles dot height. Color height. What I also want to do is margin bottom. What I want to do for that is just do one rem. And where I'm going to put this is right underneath, or right on the flex item. So style equals styles dot margin bottom, like that. Now it should space things out a little bit, maybe not. Oh, sorry. Margin bottom, one rem. There we go. JSX is so fun. CSS and JS is fun. So these guys don't have their. The issue going on right now with the display is that this is becoming undefined and we're not passing that in all the way yet, so we need to do that. I don't know why margin bottom is not. Wait, we don't actually need that being passed in. Go away. Hate on the. Oh yeah, definitely need to hide on that. Go away, Firefox. Okay, so let's see where we at. Increase amount, decrease amount. Inspect our outer div and see what we're. Stop opening up Firefox. Dang it. Stop it. Go away. Oh, this comma is throwing it off. We don't need the comma there. There we go. Look at that. Woo, it works. Whoa, look at that. It works. Sweet. Cool. Yeah, so basically what we're doing here is have those classes. And we really don't need anything higher than 10, to be honest. Flex 10. I mean, if it's really that granular, then I guess, but like you really don't need that fine of like flex definitions for your items. Like you get away with like 1 out of 3 for the most part. All right, let's change that actually. So we'll just do 12. So if the flex mount is 12, then we're just going to return. We're not going to increase anymore. And if the flex mount is 1, then we're not going to decrease anymore. Cool. All right. So what do we have here? Are we still rendering? Yeah, we're still rendering all of this. All right. So we got that working. We got the dealy bobbers working. What I want to do with the controller though is just give it some styling. So const styles equals an object and a button width going to be 1. That. So if I do that on the buttons, style equals style dot button should give us full width on that, and I'm going to just copy this and put it on the secondary button. Cool. All right, let's see if that worked. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Style is not defined. Oh, stop. Cool. So yeah, the buttons give you got 100% width for the element now. I mean, I don't know if that looks decent or whatever, but who cares? Just demonstrating the point. Alright, so let's finish up this by just giving a bit of margin to, we'll do the margin top. So, top to be equal to 1 rem. And then we can just put that on this guy. So style equals style dot margin button. Gotta make sure I remember my comma here. Space these out a little bit. Alright, let's see what that gives us now. Yeah, nice. Cool. Excellent. Alright, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to render out these elements dynamically based on an array of items instead of just having them be hard-coded like that. I'm going to use the restroom really quick. I'll be right back. So bear with me and we'll keep going. Until then... here's this. Be right back. All right. Cool. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually dynamically render these. So what we want to do is we're going to create some state. Actually, I don't think we need to make any state. Just let's go like this. So const flex item array equals an array, and we're just gonna do 0, 1, and out of it, just like that for now. Cool. Now, what we can do inside of this function, instead of returning right away, we can say const flex. Actually, instead of array, well, yeah, actually, so const flex item count is going to be equal to flex item array dot map, and then inside of here we will pass in our items or our flex items, and then in turn we will render out that flex item group. Cool. Just like that. And then what we can do is just pass in the item itself, which doesn't really do anything in our case right now, because we just need it for the variable assignment, but that's okay. So we can delete all these now, and then instead of just doing some importing or just having a single component in there, we can actually enter a set of curly braces and apply flex item, not array, but count, like that. And that should be the rendered out map of these flex item groups. So we should see 5 of them back in there. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, cool. Excellent, we do have it. What do we have for an error? Method child and list should have a okay. So we'll just actually set, let's just, since we're not really using anything inside of here as far as data from the item, we'll just set the key to the item and see if that solves that issue. Our functionality still works. Wonderful. Wonderful. Can't decrease it anymore, any less than 1. Cool. Seems to be working all right. Okay, so that's cool. What we want to do now is see, like, for instance, if we add, when we get, probably the next session that we do this, we'll be implementing Redux, so we have some sort of state management system, so we can actually make some changes and whatnot to this. But if, for instance, right now, if I just want to add, another number to the array, we're gonna get 4 items like that. Pretty neat. So if you say it like this, we can just say 4, the 5th, 5, it adds a 6th, but you can see it's getting pushed off there. So what we want to do is probably limit it just to 5, and we'll have to make sure that the overflow or whatever doesn't get affected, because we don't want this white space over here to be happening. That's doesn't really work well. I mean, yeah, see, like, we want to make sure that the entire background has that color. If even if there is overflow like this, we want to make sure that that background, the entire body has the background color, not just the viewport visibility. Excuse me. All right, cool. So what do we want to do next? I really just want, before we wrap up the stream, the coding session or whatever, I just want to make sure that we should just be displaying the amount of flex that each have, so you can see where we were at, and now you can see where we've gotten to. Pretty cool. So to do that, we're gonna go back into, we can close up that, and we can close up that. Flex item is what we're gonna need to work with. We don't need app.js opened. All right, so the flex item is what we actually, the style can go because it's not working. We can delete that. And instead of passing in a style to this, we're going to actually pass in a prop. So we will pass in flex amount, and that's going to be equal to this dot state dot. Cool. So we'll have access to that value inside of our component now, and we can actually just delete this on click because we don't have that anymore. And then structure out of there. So it is flex mount. And I like working with these structured props versus like actual just the props dot, because it just helps save on characters and helps with your code legibility and stuff like that. Because if you, I wish I could just destructure the styles right away, but it doesn't work like that because I don't like the styles dot, I don't like the props dot, and I don't like the this dot kind of thing. So shouts to Joshua on the destructuring aspect on that. So cool for you on that. Thanks for the tip. Okay, so cool. So what we want to do, we're not going to do a span here. We're just going to do an h3. Inside of this, we'll just say flex amount. Just that should give us the value at a title to it. So flex amount colon space and the variable, and that should give us that. Boom. Oh yeah, flex amount 2, 3. Flex, flex, flex. Come on, come on, come on. Flex, flex, flex. Come on, you got it. All right, cool. Well, I think that is going to do it for this point. We got pretty much where I wanted to get to for this stream fairly easily. The next task is really going to be implementing Redux, so we have some sort of centralized state management system. That way I can make some changes. Mainly my first goal is going to be to add and remove different flex items, kind of like the Flexbox utility library or Flexbox playground that I have built in Vue, where you can add or remove different flex items and stuff. So I want to be able to have 1 up to 5. That's going to be the next thing I need to do, but it's going to require some Redux state management in order to do that, because it's not going to be just child to parent prop data flow or whatever. It's going to be app wide kind of stuff, because I'm going to have it over here, and that's going to be part of the sidebar component, which doesn't correlate with the flex container component directly. So Redux, fun times. If you've ever used Redux, I feel sorry for you, son. I got 99 problems and Redux is one. Anyways, cool. So that's going to do it for this stream. I'm going to push this code to GitHub if you want to check it out. Definitely make sure you hit up the rabbitwerks Discord server if you have any questions, if you want to follow along, if you have any questions in general. There's a couple new people in there. It's kind of slow right now, but I'm sure once we get a community built up, it'll blow up. Make sure to check out Coding Garden, get involved with the community app if you want to do that. We're going to be building a community app. Well, we are building a community app based on Vue.js and all that good stuff. Yeah, HTML All the Things podcast, or Hat podcast, good guys over there. The Nerdy Dev, make sure to check him out. He just broke 1,000 subs, so big ups on you on that. And I think that's gonna do it. So my name is Sean. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Live Coding with Rabbitwerks JavaScript, React refresher stuff. And I hope you enjoyed the stream. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to get more involved in projects, make sure to definitely check out the Discord or the Coding Garden Discord, all that good stuff and whatnot. And Nerdy Dev Discord too. So All right. I'm out. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Hopefully, we'll have another stream soon. Working on the Flexbox utility series right now, but I've been very busy, so I haven't really had much time to dedicate to that. Anywho, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you on the flip side. My name is Sean. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rabbitwerks live coding sessions, and that is going to do it for this stream. So wherever you are in the world, stay awesome, keep coding, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Rabbitwerks out.